Hello, this week I have some submissions of paranormal ghost stories. So let's start off with the first story that I have. This was submitted from Jane from New Jersey. My brother and I were taking a cross-country road trip, staying at every town along the way. We arrived at Kansas City at 7 p.m. and checked into a hotel, an old manor house called Bolat Manor, where legend has it that President Kennedy was actually born. My brother Mark carried in all the bags as we got the key for the room from the welcoming elderly lady in reception. The room was as old as the manor itself, but its facilities were modern. We slept well, but I awoke at 3 a.m. sharp when Mark screamed. He lay next to me, to my left. At first I didn't know what was wrong, but then I noticed a stick of dynamite resting on his face, its fuse quickly burning down. I grabbed the explosive and threw it from the window, where its fuse was quickly extinguished by the outside swimming pool, which conveniently lay below. I ran to reception, and amidst my tears I explained to the receptionist what had happened. Well, she was shocked at first, but then she told me about a ghostly presence that supposedly haunts the fourth floor rooms, nicknamed Dynamite Dolores by the staff there. A few minutes later, and I was fast asleep again, but I was awoken yet again. This time I was awoken by the hissing and crackling sound of a burning fuse. I looked about and noticed that there was dynamite resting on my soft leg, ready to blow it apart. Mark grabbed the explosive, but it went off before he could get rid of it. I rushed to reception again and explained what had happened. The most they could do was to give me a $50 voucher towards my next stay. That was a year ago now. I'm still upset sometimes when I think of it. I may not even use this voucher in the future. I'm so mad. The next story is submitted by David from Cardiff. When I was a teenager, I was in a local gang, the Scudgers. We'd hang out at the cemetery close to our homes. Under the earth here lay the remains of the dead. This particular night was an initiation for our new gang member, my girlfriend. As with all new gang members, she had to dig up a coffin and eat part of the body. I sat there with my pals with a beer in my hand while my girlfriend Lottie dug up the coffin. According to the gravestone, it was Captain Marvin, who had died 11 years before. Just as we heard the shovel hit the casket for the first time, a branch fell from a tree overhead. It was obvious to us all that we weren't alone here in the cemetery at night. We gathered around the branch to take a closer look when we heard a blood-curdling scream from the open grave. My girlfriend Lottie climbed out, trembling. Her mouth was full of decade-old putrid flesh and worms, strips of it hanging down her filthy chin. The smell of decaying meat from her mouth made us all nauseous. Just as we were about to leave, though, a policeman came along and asked us what we were doing here at night. Should we explain to him that a paranormal force had knocked off the branch from the tree, or should we blame it on our newest gang member? Without a second's thought, I explained that my girlfriend Lottie had damaged the tree herself. She was pushed into the police car and handcuffed as she spat a part of a worm onto the floor. At this point, I promised I'd never speak to her again. And now on to the next tale. This one was submitted by Victoria from Montreal. I grew up at Belfont Lodge, and yet as soon as I was old enough to leave, I did. It seemed that not a week went by in my childhood without the dark presence of the house making itself known. The kitchen was always so cold. My parents' bedroom always smelled so sweaty, and some nights the TV would turn on and turn off again. My parents were professional mediums, holding seances and Ouija board nights at least 5-6 nights a week. The ghostly force in the house came to a head when I was 12 years old. I lay there asleep when I saw my bedroom door creak open. In the darkness I saw the outline of a shadowy figure. Could it have been intent on finishing off my young life? I grabbed the closest thing I could. It was a used condom that I'd found in my parents' bedroom, not knowing what it was as a 12-year-old. I held the wet condom in my hand and threw it with all my strength. A hissing sound came from the doorway, and the door closed again abruptly. I'm now 19 years old and at college, but I promise I'll never return to Belfont Lodge. Thanks very much for listening to my scary stories from this week. Please don't forget to hit the red subscribe button as we grow here as a scary story community. Don't forget to check back sometime. All the best, guys. And don't forget, don't have any nightmares.